Hello legends and heli heads and choppers, welcome to this video. We're back again with the same replay track, slightly different video to the other 4 or 5 that we've done, in that this time we're pitching the 3080 Ti on the right hand side versus the 4080, but this time both cards have V-Sync on. Now, we've already done a video on the benefits of V-Sync and why you should have it on, and that's in the top right hand corner now. So we know that. We know that V-Sync is not our enemy, and that despite the technology moving forward with G-Sync and FreeSync and so on, that at the end of the day, particularly if you're going to be producing videos, for example, and capturing at 60 frames per second, that 60 Hz on your monitor and therefore V-Sync on so that your GPU is matched to your refresh rate is the way forward, and you will have a much smoother flight, and of course your GPU will use less resources and you'll have that much more overhead to be able to ramp up your graphics settings. We know that, and that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is actually to look at that which is not being said. Let me explain. 3080 Ti on the right hand side, 4080 Ti, 4080, well it was before they recalled it, the 4080 on the left hand side, and just look how much energy is being used by the 4080 in comparison to the 3080 Ti. About 100 watts less in some places, which is significant with them both on V-Sync. The 4080 is anything between 12 and 22% less being used on its GPU utilisation than the 3080 Ti. And of course, along with all that utilisation is the temperature of the equipment. In this case, anything from 12 degrees to 16 degrees all the way through this. Now, what's the so what from this? The so what? Come on, Heli Mong. What's the so what? Well, the so what is this. Energy costs a bloody fortune for all of us. It doesn't matter whether you live in Eritrea, USA, Europe, the UK, or the Isle of Dogs. Energy costs a fortune nowadays. 3 times more for domestic use alone. 100 watts is a hell of a lot. And even with V-Sync on, the 3080 Ti is 100 watts more than the 4080. And of course is, as I said earlier on, that much less hot, is that much cooler, which means that its life is being prolonged and your system in general terms is a lot cooler. And of course there's a hell of a lot more headroom on the 4080 than there is on the 3080 Ti, meaning that you can really ramp up those settings if you want to. That said, let's not discount the 3080 Ti. That would be foolish. The 3080 Ti is a fantastic card, and there's no question about that. Arguably, in my view, if you've gone from a 10 series to a 30 series, you've done yourself a favour, because a 20 series, in my view, is just a waste of time. But the 3080 Ti has got a bit of headroom on it. When you'll see every now and then it fluctuates right up, as it is now actually, into the 90s. And that's not actually a good thing. When you benchmark your own card, you really want to benchmark it so that it tops out around about 85%. Now, you don't be cynical about it and don't try and get it absolutely figure correct, but 85% is a good marker to aim for. The GPU is doing other things. It's running your system, it's recording a video, it's doing whatever. Give it some headroom for the other tasks that it has. The search for FPS means that everyone turns everything off, tries to get as much FPS as they can, doesn't worry about the frame time, and maxes out their GPU and wonders why they have stutters. And I'm sure, just like many others out there who have been in this hobby for decades, chuckle every time we read those sorts of posts, because you can save yourself a whole lot of heartache just by using V-Sync. That's right, good old-fashioned V-Sync. And you can see the 4080, bags of headroom there, and if I really wanted to, I could crank up those settings The settings, just in case you're not aware, are exactly the same settings we've done for the other tests. You can see them in the top right hand corner now. Of course, this is being played at 2560, or being flown at 2560 by 1440, 2K. So, you know, on the 4080, perhaps, you know, we can ramp up a few of the other things. Put it to ×2, perhaps, even MSAA ×4, or whatever. I mean, we were pretty much maxed out, weren't we? If that is really what you need to do. But looking at those settings, we didn't skimp on them, did we? And we've got a really good picture that we're looking at, and it feels good. And if you don't need to ramp it up, then don't ramp it up, because the chances are you won't actually see the benefit. All you'll see is more use of your graphics card. So there we go. I mean, yeah, look at the power that the 3080 Ti is using in comparison. Look at the headroom that the 3080 Ti has, that the 4080 has as well. And of course the temperatures, and the 13900K is not even remotely bothered, is it? And until such times, as I've said before, that ED moved to Vulkan, and therefore direct API, internal API from the CPU to the GPU, and until such times as we're in a world of multi-threading in DCS, which I think will be some significant time off, even though we've had teasers. Teasers, in my view, is about 3 years out. The way to go forward is VSync. Someone sent me a note and said, actually, I've got a 75 Hz monitor. Why don't I just, you know, cap VSync at 75 Hz, and then I've got 75 frames, and it'll be that much better? Ironically, that's placebo. You will have no more effect of a smoother flight than if you were to do it at 60 Hz. No difference whatsoever. The only difference is that when you go to record that flight, if you are doing that for a video or for whatever, then because you are rendering higher than actual capture rate in the capture in software, which is usually 60 frames per second, every now and then you'll have a stutter, because it is not a derivative of 60. In other words, 20 or 30. So so my advice is, yeah, well, if you've got a 75 Hz monitor, yeah, don't, you know, go down to 60. 60 is the magic number right now in flight sims, and with the hardware we've got, and the very, very demanding nature, particularly of MSFS 2020 and of course DCS World. 60 is where it is at until DLSS 3, when we can use frame generation, perhaps. 60 Hertz is all you need, and if you've got a 3080 Ti, you'll be perfectly fine, as you will with a 10 series. But hell's bells, look at how much better the 4080 is in using resources. Until next time, take care, bye bye.